Okay, good morning. Hello to all the viewers watching. I'm gonna conduct a cultural interview, and I have a very special guest with me who happens to be a very good friend of mine. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Kotha.
Yes, hello there. My name is Kauthar and I'm a first year BCM student from Egypt. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in, Kotha.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I have a small disclaimer before we start. If at any
It's a
point of the
pleasure to be here.
interview, awesome. So I have a small disclosure before we start. If any of the questions throughout the course of the interview make you feel even like slightly uncomfortable or you're not sure on how to answer them, just let me know and we can move on to the next one, okay?
Sure, no problem, no problem.
Awesome. Firstly, let's talk about
Yeah.
your cultural background. So, where you're from.
So again, I'm from Egypt, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd say I'm more of a global kid because I grew up outside of Egypt all my life. So I'm technically from Egypt, but I'm also from the UAE as well because I grew up here
Mm-hmm.
since
Yeah,
yeah, I was young.
true. I feel like we're super multicultural in that aspect, and we just know a lot about different cultures as well, which I think is like really good for our development as people, as global citizens, I feel.
Yeah, it is.
All right, moving on. I, for one, am a huge fan of Egyptian food, specifically kosheri, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, but Alexandrian kibde.
Mm.
Um, but I'd love to know the traditional food favorites of a local from Egypt.
So thank you very much for saying you like them. These are actually everyone's favorite food in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So macarona bechamel, which is basically pasta with bechamel sauce and meat and red sauce like layered above each other,
Mm-hmm.
and hawshi, which is basically minced meat inside of Egyptian bread with
Mm-hmm.
ghee. That's it. And then you like what's the word? Pan pan barbecue it. I don't know what to say. Pan barbecue
That sounds really yummy.
it in the kitchen and it tastes so good. Yeah.
Just 1 minute, let me get back. I feel like my mom's calling me. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Okay.
And we're back. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Just
Okay.
1 minute.
Sorry,
1 minute.
Kota?
Let my sister go down. Yes, just 1 minute.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's start.
Okay, so speaking of food favorites, what's something else you love about your culture specifically? It could be a cultural festival, the people, or the local traditions there, maybe?
Another thing that I like about my culture, it would have to be the people there, to be honest. Like, the people there really love meeting other people coming from outside, and they would, like, basically, I don't know, they make you feel so welcome when you come from outside. Just even if you're from Egypt and you look like a foreigner, they'd still be happy to see you, which is the case with me. Yeah, it's just how bright and interested they are with people from other countries. countries and how prideful they feel when they come to Egypt to sightsee or to see some of their history, what? Some of their history and culture. Yeah,
That's super cool. I actually want to go to Egypt one day. I want to see the pyramids.
you should, you should. It's really huge, but just don't fall for the
Kauthar, you should take me.
scammers. The scammers there, and you should be aware of them before coming.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. One day, one day.
I feel like that is in every country, so it's not a huge deal, I feel like.
Yeah, it is available. It's, I mean, what? It is there in every country, but in our case, we didn't know there were scammers there, and we just fell victim to them. Yeah. Meanwhile, the tourists over there, man, they were 100% aware, and they steered away from every single trap. So we were just like in awe. So yeah, that's why I'm telling you, because we didn't know.
All right, so now this question in specific is super individualistic. Are you more of a friend or a family oriented person? And do you think that your culture specifically affected that outcome?
Um, I'm confused by the question. I don't really know what friend oriented means. Could you tell me what friend oriented means?
Yeah, sure. So, a friend-oriented person is someone who gravitates more towards spending time with their friends, giving more importance to their friends' opinions, and kind of holding them to a higher standard than their own family. And a family-oriented person would be the same thing, except towards their
Mm.
family.
Okay. Honestly, I respect them both. I am both of them at the same time because I consider everyone in my life to be important. And that's something that also comes from my culture. Like, yeah, family is important, but so is everyone that I meet outside my family. So, because of how in Egypt everyone feels like together, the friends on the streets, because we everybody who's in the same town essentially grew up together in the same city or cross paths one way or another. So in a way, I'd say both of them. I'm both. Yeah,
That's super sweet, Carther. So you kind of just have this mutual respect for everyone, yeah?
yeah, basically.
All right. Now, is there anything in particular that you might not love about your cultural practices? Maybe something social or political
Might
that you don't agree
not.
with?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, I was just extending upon the
The
question.
the main word cut out.
Yeah, anything social or political about the narratives in your country that you might not agree with? I'm just kind of extending on that question to give you an idea of what you can say.
I honestly don't know. Again, I am from Egypt, but I was born and I grew up in the UAE. So although I know some stuff from Egypt, I'm completely clueless about a lot of stuff. So I don't think I can answer the question right now.
Yeah, totally understand. We can move on to the next one.
Okay.
Have you ever felt discriminated against for your cultural background, for the way that you look or dress, maybe?
Honestly, no, not really. Not really. Here in the UAE, it's this definitely a big no because everybody here feels like they're welcomed and that they're one and part of this community. It's the same as again, as I told you, everyone, it's like one big community there. Everyone's in with everybody else. The street vendors, the family members. If I'd say discriminated, and because Egyptian people really are interested in meeting people from the outside, especially people who are from towns and outside of the tourist places in Egypt, because they don't really have that much opportunities to go travel abroad. They are really grateful any kind of sort of foreigner that comes in to their place and check the come. They would approach you with so much kindness that that here's a local that comes and they're friendly, yes, of course, but then they would give you extra attention, extra care. That's but the very, very, very unlikely other case, I would say is you get a dinner. Let's rip them off. Like instead of a bread costing €1, which is not a lot, but in terms of a foreigner's currency, but in terms of Egyptian's currency, it's like 10 dirhams equivalent. So, but that's a very, very, very unlikely chance of that happening.
Thank you for answering that,
Yeah.
Kyotha. Okay, so we're getting more
You're welcome.
philosophical. We're getting more philosophical with the next series of questions we have. So take your time and let me know if you need me to walk you through them, okay?
Sure.
So I'm really curious about this one. How is individualism perceived in your culture? Like, how important is an individual as in comparison to a group of people or a unit of people?
So, in what context?
Just kind of in a general context, how important is an individual or a self as a person than a whole group of people? So, for example, in my culture, I'm from India. Over here, being super
Yeah.
individualistic is kind of taboo because you're supposed to care about everyone and everyone is one entity, and like you need to put your own feelings and your own kind of perceptions and opinions aside to cater to everyone else. That's kind of what the perception of my culture is. So I was wondering if the same goes for you or is it different?
I got it. I got it. Okay. Um, I'm not again. I'm not really sure about the people in Egypt because I didn't grow up amongst them. I didn't really get the chance to grab that answer for this mindset. But here in the UAE, I'd say it's a mixture of both. Honestly, we grew up with our own self growth in mind, but we know that in order for us to do that, we need to be able to help others around us and like work with them so that they will help us and we'll help them and we'll all grow up together with each other and with each other's strengths and powers. So it's honestly a mixture of both.
That's such a good way to put it, Cartha. You're so sweet.
Thank you.
All right, let's see then. What are some of the traditional forms of entertainment in your country? Like, for example, some activities or hobbies that you guys might engage in? And this could be something outside of your own country, like something that was involved in your own household in order to emulate your culture.
Okay. So this one I actually do know the answer to. In Egypt, they really love sports wise, it's definitely got to be football. Football is like, I honestly don't know what our national sport is in our country, but if I had to guess, it has to be football because when it's football season, I kid you not, every single person in Egypt is like crowded and huddled in front of a TV, and they're like cheering and like standing up to like jump around, or they're sitting down in anticipation. And then when a goal fails to go inside, it's a huge amounts of cries and like loud like jeers.
Bro,
They're
that's
like, "Oh
crazy.
no, you could have went inside." It's seriously it's lashing. Football. What's it called? Teams. Yes, yes. So if two
Mm-hmm,
teams
mm-hmm.
come, there's a high chance that it could then a verbal altercation could escalate in that place.
Yeah, true, I get it.
So that's not in our country. Yeah, and they also really love dramas. And
Mm-hmm. Like Egyptian
not
Arabic
really
dramas?
sure about the yeah, Egyptian Arabic dramas and movies. I'm not really sure about the because I haven't really come across them a lot. Like I said, I grew up in a different country and the completely different than in Egypt. But I do know that the older generation, like my parents' age, they love watching old Egyptian dramas and movies. The kind that's like as old as old. That's the kind that you're supposed to you get it. I can't really describe it. So it's like the dramas would be quite simple in nature. It's not comedy. It's the bad kind of comedy that everybody enjoys. Um, yeah, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next one then. I think the bad sense of humor in like old cultural dramas is something that I have back in India as well. Because like some of the series that my parents see, like, how are
Yeah,
you laughing?
it's there in everybody's culture.
Yeah. All right. Is there any form of musical genre that your culture is specifically interested in? Are there any cultural instruments that you guys use specifically for
um,
those genres?
so Egypt is quite a general place to be in. Like we, I can say that it's quite free. Like we don't have any specific things tying us to something. So in regards to music, honestly, any genre goes. Any genre goes. We don't really love a specific one. We just listen to whatever the music is. Sometimes the words might not make sense, but still we love it. Yeah, yeah. So we basically
Yeah,
produce
so
and
sometimes I feel like music is probably more about the
yeah,
rhythm and the beat. Yeah.
it is. It is definitely.
Hmm. All right. Are folk tales and legends a huge part of your culture?
So because I once again grew up outside of Egypt my whole life, I'm sure there would be folk tales and legends in Egypt. I've never really heard any to tell, so I'm really don't know.
It's completely fine. Maybe do you guys have like superstitions specifically that aren't necessarily based on a story or like supernatural stuff?
Um, okay, so maybe like in Korea, if you give your partner a shoe, that would mean she will run away or something like that. I have zero clue about about any sort of
Yeah.
superstitions in Egypt. I really don't know because once again, I grew up in another country as well, and because I grew up away from Egypt, I've never really got the superstitions that I needed to be aware of. So no, no,
How is love and affection shown in your
yeah.
family?
It has got to be food. Like food is just like if okay, this is the national language of our country, food. And then it would have to be acts of kindness. No, acts of affection. Yeah. Wait, service of affection? Okay, you get what I mean. So
I think acts of service is what
basically,
you're saying.
it was kind of Asian minded like that. Like if yes, acts of service, yes, for sure. So we would always cook home cooked meals at home and eat it together as a family. Or if we really wanted to tell someone that we love them and we're there for them, we'd like buy them anything, literally anything from outside. You think something physical, like a new plushie, or some kind of merchandise that our hobbies or interests. So like basically, yeah, that's what we would do.
That's super nice, Kautha. Okay, I have one more
Yeah,
question, and it's related to your language. And I wanted to know, since Arabic
sure.
is such a diverse language and it's spoken in so many different regions, is there any specific statement or wording that is only solely used in your dialect or within the Egyptian culture?
um, hmm. Okay, so again, I'm not sure because I grew up in a different country, but my family have run into a situation like this when we were in Egypt for summer once. Okay, so basically in Egypt when you go, we don't really have a car. So whenever we want to travel somewhere, we take a taxi. And so this one time when we were taking a taxi, my dad was like confused. He was asking the taxi driver where was he going because every year Egypt road changes quite a lot, to be honest. Like it's in a good way, it's improving. It's like going up the slope because it was in a very bad state a few years ago, where I'm from at least. So they're making it more road like how it is here in the UAE. And so my dad was like, "Where are you going? Like that's not the way." And then the taxi driver was trying to explain that the roads has changed a bit, and now we needed to go a specific way to go somewhere. And so he would be like, "We go up the Kobri, and then we go down the Kobri." And my dad looked at him. He was like, "What is Kobri?" And literally, we've never heard that word before. And then he was like, the taxi driver was like, Kobe, Kobe, we're going up the Kobe. You don't know what's Kobe? Where are you from? And then we're like, we're from Egypt. And we're like, we're from Egypt. And he didn't know what that word meant. And so the taxi driver eventually went up and down a bridge. And then it's a gissu, like bridge in Arabic is gissu. So we had to go up and down a gissu. And he was like, what is gissu? And he was like, a kobri. And yeah, that was a day where we all learned one
Right.
new word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You guys probably might be more familiar with maybe the international version of Arabic.
Yeah, everybody uses gissu, but I don't know. I mean, 18 years? No, maybe it was back when I was 16. 16 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first time I heard kobri. Even my dad grew up in Egypt, and we never heard of that word.
Ah, they're probably just making new slang words in the country and
Yeah,
you
so
guys
yeah.
don't know. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome,
basically that's
Kotha.
what's happening.
Awesome, Kotha. That was my last question. Thank you so, so much again for having this interview with me. I had a great time. Learned some new
You're
things.
welcome. I'm happy.
Awesome, then. Thank
See,
you.
thank you.
And goodbye to the viewers as well.